Hello. Can you hear
Uh,
and see me okay?
yes. Wait, I'm trying to turn my camera on. Hi.
Hi.
How are you
Oh, let
doing?
me check my sound because it's a little funky. Let me check
Okay.
this real quick. You were just like really, really soft. So let me check a couple things.
Okay.
All right, there we
Am I
go.
good now? Am I good?
Perfect. Yeah. I
All
think it just
right.
probably wasn't fully plugged in.
Oh,
Maybe it
okay.
got pulled out a little bit. All right, perfect. Yeah, you're great. I knew that it was working because you were soft, but I was like, I don't know if it's fully. All right, perfect. That's better. All right, so I know a little bit about you from your mom already. Is it Sanaa?
Sanaya.
Sanaya, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
You're
yeah,
good. You're good.
I have your name right. So Sanaya. You know what? I
Yes.
think that's even prettier. I'm
Thank you.
Vandy. It's
Thank
great to
you.
meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Alrighty, so I have a little bit of info from chatting with your mom a little bit, but I
Mhm.
wondered if you could tell me a little bit as well, since it is our first time meeting, just so I
Yeah.
know kind of your perspective as well. So, I get like goals and thoughts from your mom, but then you might have a little bit of a different perspective too. So, I
Yeah.
love to hear just a little bit about what you've done in the past and kind of where you're at right now, what your goals are, what inspires you, what made you want to take lessons, just so we can kind of make sure we're on the same page with everything.
Okay. So I've been singing and performing since I was around 7. I've been
Okay.
in productions like The Wiz and The Color Purple. And then
Awesome.
like when I've got to high school, I've been doing show choir. We have two show choirs at my high school, so I've been doing that and then theater.
Nice.
And we just recently last year we just did Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, I love
So that was
that.
Yeah, so one of my goals really is just I feel like every time I audition for something, my one feedback is that I have low confidence, which I know I kind of
Oh,
do. Like I'm quiet, but I mean I understand that. So that's one of my things. And just trying to improve my singing and really just it's really just the confidence because every time I audition for something,
yeah.
that's just the one feedback. It's just I wasn't confident enough and
Ah,
yeah, that's the one thing. And so
gosh.
then I'm
Yeah.
like this close, and then I get nervous, and so yeah, I think that's the one
Yeah.
thing.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, I love some of the shows that you mentioned. I did The Wiz, I was in the chorus in college and I love
Okay.
the show. It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's a really, really
Yeah,
fun.
it's such a fun show. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how would you describe, from your perspective, when you go into those auditions? So I know that you're getting this feedback from them, but how do you feel about the audition? Like, if you were going to kind of self-critique, what are some of the things you feel like you're doing really well? And then some of the things that you're like, I definitely feel like I could improve in these areas. What do you think?
I mean, hmm, I don't know. I feel like I I like get I think I prepare well, I will say.
Okay,
Because
awesome.
I practice very often and then I just get in there and it's just like I think that's
Oh,
one thing I do
yeah.
well is I do make sure I prepare well and
Good. Great.
practice a lot. And so I think that's one thing.
Ah, yeah. So you are doing the work and you go
Hmm.
in feeling like I've done the work, I know what I'm here to do. But then when you get in there, um, do you just feel like it's nerves, just kind of like you get in your head
Yeah.
and you feel
Yeah.
nervous and then you're a little more like, oh.
Hmm.
And then when you get
Yeah.
into a show, do you feel much more comfortable in that
Hmm.
setting, but just the auditions themselves are really intimidating?
Yeah. Auditions just take me out.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
sucks because I've been performing pretty much my whole life. And it's like the auditions still just kind of get to me. So it's like, what's going
Yeah.
on?
Oh, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? You are not alone. That's a very, very normal feeling. I know that I definitely felt that way. Like when I first got out of college and I was auditioning for things, I was like, gosh, once I'm in a show, I feel confident. I know what to do. I prepare. But
Yeah.
going into auditions, it's like test taking. Like I could study all night and
Mhm.
I feel like I just have never been a great test taker. I would get really nervous and so I just kind of learned,
Yeah.
I was like, man, I will do papers and presentations and projects and things all day. But I was like, whew, tests just were not the easiest for me. And so Auditions, I feel
Mhm.
like, are a little bit like that. And part of it is that you're going into a place where you know your part, right? But you don't know necessarily
Mhm.
what the room is going to look like, where you're going to be standing, how the pianist is going to play, who these people are. Maybe you know them, maybe you
Right.
don't. Do they prefer that you look them in the eye or that you don't look at them at all? Just like things that throw you
Mhm.
off, and then we get in our head and we're like, oh gosh, like I'm on the spot and I'm being judged. um
Yeah.
so it's a very common feeling, a very common experience. So don't feel like you're alone in that, because I definitely understand from firsthand experience, and also from, talking to a lot of other people. That's a very common feeling. I do know a few people who really genuinely enjoy auditioning. I don't know
Mhm.
that I would say I really love auditioning. I just see it more as like this is part of the job. Um, and so
Right.
I actually love the rehearsal process. I love doing the work, learning the
Yeah.
parts,
I love
and
that.
even performing. But I feel like the auditioning part is not my favorite. So I'm right there with you
Mhm.
on that. So yeah, so it sounds like it's more an issue of the nerves, that kind of stage fright, that feeling of getting in front of people and just like being like, "Ugh." So I'm curious, when you go into a performance, do you also feel that way, or is it just in auditions?
No, it's just auditions.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
the
like in the
same
last one I was
way.
telling you about Catch Me If You Can, like I had a
Yeah.
solo in that song actually. I mean I was
Yeah.
nervous on auditions, but I had got a solo and I
Mhm.
did it, but like it's just I don't
Oh
know.
man, yeah.
I don't
I think
know.
another component of auditioning is that they might say, like, come sing a song for us, but if you haven't been like doing this professionally, even if you've been performing, but it's been more of like a fun thing you did, like going to camps and workshops and school performances, things like that. It's not quite the same as going in when they start expecting a little bit more of like a professional, polished approach.
Hmm.
And unless you are told by someone what they expect, you don't know. Things like we never shake hands in an audition, ever, ever, ever. Ever. We don't do that. They would not like it. Unless someone like walks up to you and is like, hi, and sticks
Yeah.
their hand in front of you, you never shake a hand in an audition. And so, if people who would go to job interviews or something might think that's very normal. And so, unless you've been told these things, you just don't know them. And so, I think practicing doing the audition is really important, not just practicing the song or practicing the monologue, but actually practicing step by step by step. Here is exactly what I'm going to do. And I have a plan going into the audition of every component. So the more homework you can do on that particular organization, the better. Like some places, they'll have a small group go in and then they have you take turns performing. I don't like that as much personally. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I'm watching everyone else, I'm not like focused on what I need to do. If
Yeah.
I'm like the first one, I don't mind. Then I'm like, I don't have all their stuff in my head.
Right.
Like I would rather just like wait outside and they come out and then I go in. Um,
Yeah.
so if you know those kind of things ahead of time, that can be very helpful, being able to prepare, but sometimes you don't. So knowing like what are a few different examples of how auditions might go can be really helpful, and then practicing that audition process. So it sounds like you're typically auditioning for musical theater when you're
Yeah.
auditioning, yeah? Awesome.
Hmm.
And then have you performed more like at school, community theater? What have been kind of the things that you have done in the past? And then what are you wanting to audition for moving forward? Like, what are some of the auditions that you've been told like you didn't seem very confident?
Well, I just finished an audition for The Lightning Thief, also at my school, because yeah, I've been doing a lot of
Yeah.
school theater to answer your question.
Okay.
And I've gotten the same feedback, but this time they said I got a call back because the first time I talked to my
That's
theater
great.
teacher, she explained to me that, she's like, I know you can do a lot more. You just seem timid. So I was like, okay. And then I go in and I did the same thing during the callback, which really sucked. And so yeah.
Oh,
And then I'm really
yeah.
trying to audition for there's this solo in my show choir show
Oh,
that I like to
cool.
get.
Yeah.
So that's really what I'm working towards right now and hope to,
Hmm.
get
Yeah.
confidence in that.
Okay. All right. So far it's been more at school. So what's great about that
Yeah.
is you already know the people that you're going to be auditioning for, which
Hmm.
sometimes helps and sometimes doesn't. It's kind of dependent on the person. I tend to feel a lot more comfortable if I know them already, if I, you know, have met them before, auditioned for them before, have performed in their circles or whatnot.
Hmm.
But I know people who actually prefer not knowing people and going and being like, everyone's a stranger, I don't know anyone, and that makes them feel better. I tend to be more like, if my mom's in the audience, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an individual thing, but I love that you do already know them. That hopefully will kind of put you at ease because you know these are teachers, these are people that want to know you, want to work with you, want to help you improve, want to help you grow, and they're
Hmm.
there because they really love doing that. Like when I first went to school, like got into college, I was not at all planning on teaching. And then I had a class where they had us like do some, it was like a little bit of teaching as part of that particular class. And I ended up loving it. And I was like, I want to keep doing this. And like, even my spouse has been like, man, like, sometimes I think you're just like even more happy when your student does well than like if you get home from a show or something like that I get even more pumped about my students and it makes me really excited, right? And so if they're there in that role, they do want you to do well. And they love doing music and theater too. That's why they've devoted their whole life to it. So they're there because they love the art and because they really do enjoy teaching you and want you to learn and grow and do well. So otherwise they would not be there. So they're there to help you. So focusing on that can sometimes be really helpful because I think sometimes we fixate on that. They're judging me, they're sitting there critiquing and judging, and that makes it feel really scary, right? That we're like,
Yeah.
oh, they're gonna judge me. And I've had students who are like little kids even be like, their moms be like, she's so nervous around you. She thinks you're so good and it's like scary. And I have to be like, guys, my first performance was not great. I was 5 years old and I'll like tell them about it. I'm like, I've been doing this a long time. So I've
Yeah.
had I have fainted on stage and fallen flat on my face, like
Oh my
literally fell
gosh.
on my face. So like worst case scenarios,
Gosh.
I have done them. So
Yeah.
you don't have to feel too scared around me because I get it.
Okay.
So yeah, like I want you to feel comfortable. Your teachers at school want you to feel comfortable, and
Hmm.
it's about giving you a venue, a place where you can bring something you love to do and really thrive and grow in that. So kind of changing our mentality towards it. Another thing that can sometimes be really helpful is going in, instead of thinking of this as like, oh my gosh, I'm being judged, it's an audition, it's like a test to see like where I'm at and how good I am and if I'm good enough for the role. Instead, go in telling yourself something like, hey, I get to perform for somebody today. Maybe it's for
Hmm.
one person, maybe it's for two people, but I get to practice performing for someone today. I have the opportunity to share something that I've been working on and to practice performing. And I get a little stage, a little platform to share my art. So,
I
kind
like
of
that.
transitioning the thinking from this is an audition to I get to perform today, right? And so that
Yeah.
hopefully makes it feel a little bit nicer and less scary that it's like, this is a performance. Yes, I don't have 100, 200 people, 300 people, 1,000 people in the audience, but I've got at least one and they deserve a good show too. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to perform for them. I do think that being able to practice with the pianist ahead would definitely make everybody feel better going in. That is something that can be really especially scary. Um, but I think you have to get to where you're like, even if the pianist completely stopped playing, I could just keep going and just sing the song that you know it that well that it's like, no matter what they do, I know the song so well that I can just sing it, right? And you,
Hmm.
if they start too slow, you speed it up. you hustle on. You don't snap at
Yep.
them. They don't like that. But you just in your brain, you're like click, 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 and you just keep going. I had an audition where I thought it was an easy song, but it was kind of swung and it wasn't as well known, and the pianist just stopped playing completely, and I was like, all right, and I kept going.
Okay.
I didn't get cast, but it might not have been because of that. It could have been lots of
Yeah.
reasons. Um, I've even seen, I also think that you have to kind of take everything with a grain of salt. Um, they're going, well, you didn't seem super confident with your audition. Um, a lot of the idea of that, like, fake it till you make it, I like to think in auditions from the moment I get out of my car, walk in the door, hand them my paperwork, walk in, like that whole process, even when I leave, when I close the door behind me, when I exit the building, when I get into my car, that all is part of the audition. And I am not myself during that time. I am a character. And that character is the best version of me character. So I go, this is the Vandy that's like the best version of her and that you want to work with. So it's like, I'm a great person. I work hard. I'm prepared. I've got a positive attitude. You would be happy to work with me. Like that's the character
Right.
that I have when I go in. I'm the character is confident. So I don't have to be confident necessarily. Inside, I can be nervous. I'm usually nervous. And it's funny because my mom will be like, "Oh, you seem so at ease." And I'm like, "Well, inside, I am always nervous going in." But then like once I get started, I'm like, "Oh, I'm in my element and it's all good." But like up until the point that I start doing the song or doing the monologue, I feel nervous. And so
Yeah.
I think of it as I'm playing a character during that time. And this character stands tall, shoulders back, head held high. This character smiles really big. This character steps confidently. She doesn't shuffle her feet. She walks confidently. She plants her feet confidently. She faces her audience head on, right? She's confident with her gestures. If she's going to do a gesture, it's going to be a very confident gesture. She doesn't do anything small. She's confident. She's big. She's larger than life. And then, after I get in my car and drive away, then I'm like, and now I can be me. Right? So
Mhm.
I sort of have created this character in my head that's like, this is what I wish that I naturally did when I walked into an audition. And instead, I have cultivated this character who's the ideal version of me in that audition moment. So the real person inside might be like, right? But outwardly, I walk in and I feel 4 inches taller because I'm standing very straight. If I say hello to someone, I say it confidently. If you know, I keep a smile on my face the whole time, basically.
Yep.
Unless I'm like in the bathroom with the door closed, right? The
Yeah.
stall is closed. And then I can be like, "Oh, okay. You know?
Yeah.
When I'm in front of everyone, I am positive, I am focused, I am confident, I'm happy to be there, I'm excited about this opportunity. So I create this character, and all of that is part of the audition. So when I practice for the audition, I practice. You could even practice walking through a door. That might be helpful. Sometimes having an actual door to like open and enter through can be really helpful
Mhm.
to have in your mind, like, okay, when I cross that threshold, I'm a new character, right? And so you
Mhm.
practice walking in confidently with a big smile. You practice planting your feet. You practice, if you have a song, you practice stopping to talk to your pianist. You practice what you want to say to them. Hi, I'll be singing this song. It's from this show. I'm doing it about this speed. And then you sing a little bit of it for them. And then you'd be like, oh, here are a couple spots I want to point out. I've got this fermata here. And then I have a big dramatic pause right after that. And then we're going to accelerate a little bit, but then at the end we have a slowing down that happens. So I can do this big dramatic high note that feels like the end. And they're like, cool, great. And you're like, awesome, thanks so much. And then you walk over to the center and you find your place that's your center stage and you smile big and you take a second and then you do your slate, you introduce yourself, you tell them what you're going to be performing. I'm doing this song from this show, and then I'll be doing this character from this show for your monologue. And then you nod over to your pianist, you let them know you're ready, and then you do your singing, you take a pause, you shift into another character, you do your monologue, you pause, and then you break character and go back to your normal, like, best version of me character
Hmm.
that you're auditioning with, and you smile like that's the best I've ever done in my life, and you thank them. And then you walk over and you get your music, you thank your pianist, and then you walk out, and all of that is done very confidently. Like, oh, this is so much fun. I am living my best life. I love being here, and I am just what you're looking for this show, right? So having this idea of they need me, and I'm here to
Hmm.
get to share what I love to do with them, and if I'm the right person to tell this story, then I'm going to get that role. It can't be taken from me, because if I am the right person to tell this story today, then I will get it, right? If I'm not,
Yeah.
that's okay. That just means there's something else I'm supposed to be doing right now. And so keeping this
Hmm.
thought process of if I am the right person to tell this story, this role is already mine and I will get it, right? And you just go in and be happy. Like, I've gone into auditions knowing full well I can't do the show because I'm already booked for other things. And I just go, well, I saw the audition was today. I would love to work with you guys at some point in the future. I just wanted to come and meet you. I know I don't have availability, but I just thought I'd come audition, meet you guys, let you know who I am and what I'm all about, and then hopefully we can work together in the future, you know? And then at least
Hmm.
you're on their radar. And then in the future, they might call you up and be like, "We think you'd be really good for this show. Would you come audition for it?" So even when I know full well that I'm like, I really can't be cast, so that takes a lot of pressure off. I'll go
Yeah.
audition and just be like, I just wanted to meet you guys, or, I just, I haven't seen you guys in a while. I just thought I'd come, show you where I'm at and kind of get on your radar because I'd love to work with you more in the future or whatever. So, so having this mentality of they're casting, so they need people, right? They
Hmm.
have roles that are empty that need to be filled with someone, and then going, I get to go audition and I get to meet people who love to do what I love to do. And then you go, and if I am the right person to tell this story, I will be that person. And if I'm not the right person this time around to tell this story, that's okay. And just because I'm not this time doesn't mean I won't be the right person in the future, right? So approaching it with a little bit of a different mentality and staying really focused on what am I here to do, as opposed to thinking about like the past, like did I practice enough? Maybe I didn't. Oh, did I warm up my voice? What if it's not ready for this? Like, instead of thinking about the
Hmm.
past or the future, like, oh my gosh, what if they judge me? What if they don't like my audition? What if I screw up? What if I don't get cast? Oh my gosh, that's gonna suck. I want to be in the show with all my friends, right? Instead of thinking about like stuff in the past or stuff in the future, stay really focused on right here, right now. What is happening in this moment? And going, okay, what do I need to do first? What's my next step? Right. So it's, I'm standing
Hmm.
outside, waiting at the door. I like to give myself a little mantra, and for each individual, it might be different. Mine is stand tall, breathe, have fun. And if I do those three things, I'm like, it's all going to be okay. Because I know I did the work ahead of time. And if I didn't, I'm like, oh, well, can't do anything about it now. And I've learned if you have fun in your audition, the people watching you are going to have fun too. So I've had multiple times where they're like, "Oh, we loved your audition. We love you. We think you're great. We unfortunately don't have anything for you at this particular time, but thank you so much for auditioning. We'll definitely keep your resume and headshot and we'll like reach back out or whatever." So it never hurts. I've also been the person doing auditions before. And sometimes we unfortunately are like, wow, that person's fabulous, but then we just don't have anywhere to put them. And that's happened to me too, where they're like, oh my gosh, like you could be this person, but that role is pre-cast, or we just literally don't have a single character that's like right for you in this show. Like maybe I'm too tall, but I have dark hair. And then it's like Midsummer Night's Dream, and they're like, you were the best person who auditioned today. But unfortunately, we need this character to be tall with like more fair skin and light hair, and then this character has to be short
Mhm.
and have darker hair, and like the script specifically says that. So unfortunately, you're like right in between and you don't quite fit either. And they're like, we just don't have a role for you. And I'm like, that's cool because you never know for the
Yeah.
future, right? Um,
Hmm.
or like I auditioned for a Mall in the Night Visitors, and the director was like, I so want to cast you. And he was like, there is no character that like he was like, there are two female characters and neither of them are your voice type. And he was like,
Uh,
so will you be my stage manager and then we'll try to get you in a show in the future? And I was like, okay. So
okay.
right. So you never know. It doesn't even have to be a slate if you don't get in. Um,
Hmm.
so I think practicing auditioning, not just practicing the material. And then I would say too, challenge yourself to just audition for as many things as you possibly can, because the only way to get better at auditioning is doing auditions. So even if
That's
you
what I've
go
definitely been
in,
trying to do.
yeah,
Yep.
even if you go in and you're like, I know I can't be in this show, or I know I don't even want to be in the show, right? Like you're like, I go on vacation right before you guys open or something. Like, just go to the audition. Just find auditions and go and practice auditioning. And if you have to be like, here's my availability, and it's like 2 weeks, and they're like, how could we possibly cast you? You're like, that's okay. Thanks anyway, and
Hmm.
just being there helps you. I have a friend who he's like, I don't have the money for dance classes right now. He's like, so whenever I want to take one, I just go to a dance call audition. He's like, I just
Right.
get a free dance class. I was like,
Yeah.
that's actually genius. And he was like, and then I get better at dancing and I get better at auditioning. And I was like, and he saves money. I was like, that's actually really smart,
Win-win.
right? It's a win-win. Yeah. So I would encourage you, try to audition for things just to have the practice of doing it. And even before you go to the auditions, like meet with me and like practice doing the audition for me. Ask your family if they'll just like sit and let you practice auditioning for them. Be like, hey, can you just be my little audience? I sometimes like say I have no one who can do it. I'll like put stuffed animals on the couch and be like, they are my audition panel. Or I like have my dogs and I'm like, sit there. And I'm like, all right, I'm auditioning for you, right? But if you can get somebody, a friend, a neighbor, a grandparent, somebody to let you audition for them, that helps a lot with the jitters. And you can be like, I need to go through all those steps. And if you're like, ah, dang it, I forgot to go give the pianist my music, that's okay. And then you start again and you make sure you hit all those points in that audition process. Now, sometimes auditions will be a little more casual where they're like, oh, hi, Sanaya, come in, like, welcome. We're so glad you're auditioning. And if that happens, that's great. Then you don't have to be as formal with like the, hello, I'm Vandy Enzor, and here's what I'm auditioning for, and here's what I'm doing for you today. Let's go. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
have to be as formal then. You just get to be like, hi, it's great to be here. And they'll be like, how are you today? If it's a little more casual and you feel like, I'm doing really well. Thank you. I hope you guys are having a good day too. So
Right.
sometimes they'll do that just to make it feel a little more comfortable and kind of break the ice, ease tension. Um, so if that happens, great. Then you just, do a little improv conversation with them. They're like, I didn't plan this, but that's okay. I've got this, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I'm a professional, right? And you just go in with that positive attitude and be like, I'm ready if they veer from my audition script, but I'm prepared if they don't. Because sometimes you walk in and they will just look at you, or they don't. They're like still writing notes from the first person, or they're like reading through your resume and they don't even look up at you. And you're just like, hello, this is who I am, and this is what I'll be doing. And then
Yeah.
they might just be like,
Hmm.
thank you. And you're just like, thank you. And you go get your stuff and you leave. And then when you get home, you cry.
Yeah.
But you go in being like, everything's going to go great. I'm ready for this because you never know. Never know what's going to happen. I one time drove all the way to Philadelphia and then
Wow.
I found out they didn't have a pianist and we had to bring our own, which I did not know ahead. And I was like, and I looked around the room and was like, you look like a pianist. Do you want to play for me? And the guy was like, $30. And I was like, done. And he played for me for 30 seconds and they were like, that's enough. We have to go and catch a train. Bye. And they like left. And I was like,
Oh my
I drove all the way
gosh.
here from Indianapolis. And I was just like,
Wild.
well, here's your $30. Then I was like, I guess I go home now.
Oh,
And
that's
my
so
teacher was
crazy.
like, it's okay. Maybe like, and for what it was, she was like, you might have had too big of a voice. And I was like, well, I've never been told that, so I hope you're right.
Right.
But yeah, so for what it was, she was like, they might have just wanted lighter voice types. And I was like, maybe. I don't know. But I also was like, I bet the audition lady outside told them I didn't have a pianist and they think I'm not professional. I was like, I didn't know. But it's fine. It was fine. Right? And you
Yeah.
just roll with it. And you go, it's okay. At least I got exposure. I got to meet some other artists in the lobby. I got the
Mhm.
practice of auditioning. And now I have a pianist in Philadelphia that I can reach out to, right? So
There you
I
go.
got his info, right? So in the future, I'm like, I know who to call. So yeah, so it's always a learning experience. I would say you learn way more from the ones that don't go well than you do from the ones that go great. So, what do you think that you can learn from this last audition that you did? If you kind of like walk back through in your mind each step of the way, what would you say is the first thing that you would tell yourself if you like if you were not yourself and you watched yourself do the audition? What's the first tip, like constructive feedback you'd give yourself?
Definitely what you were saying earlier, just trying to stay in the moment because
Mm.
that last audition was like how you were saying it was like multiple people in the room. We had to go down a
Ah,
line and audition.
I hate
And
that.
so I just say like not focusing on everybody else, just focus on myself and be in the moment is probably
Yeah.
what I would do because I was just too focused on everything else and getting in my head,
Hmm.
I think. So yeah.
Yeah, right. So what if you have like five people who go in all at once and you're the last one, right?
Hmm.
So I might watch the first person go in that scenario just to be like, okay, how does the audition go? Right. So then I get a little information. I'm like, oh, okay. So they have to walk up those stairs. They're going to cross over to the pianist and then they have to come back to the center. Okay. That's a good place to stand. They have good lighting. All right. So it seems like this auditioner really likes to engage and is like, trying to connect and then this one not so much so maybe I don't talk to that person directly maybe I just
Hmm.
like sing over their head. So I watch and I kind of learn from the process for that first person because I have a few people to go, right? So
Hmm.
then I go, okay, I know what's expected. I know that like that person might talk to me, but this person probably won't. This person might ask a couple questions. Cool, good to know. And I just sort of like get some info then, which is great. Um, and then I have a couple more people. I've got three other people in front of me. So then I can be like, okay, I've got the info I needed. Now I can just focus on what I'm going to do. So I might just like close my eyes, focus on my breathing, and I'll like visualize myself walking through the audition in that time, right? So I'll be like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm going to walk up those stairs. I'm going to hand my music to the pianist. I'm going to explain to them whatever I'm doing. Then I'm going to cross over to that place. I'm going to plant my feet confidently. I'm going to smile to the person who is engaging and I'm going to talk directly to them. Then I'm going to nod to the pianist, let them know I'm ready. And then I'm going to find my focal point on the wall and I'm going to deliver the song to there. Then I'm going to smile really big, like that's the best I ever did because it's going to go great. I just know it is. And then I'm going to go get my music, thank my pianist, and then walk confidently back down those stairs and sit in this seat and sit very tall and smile all the while, right? So I
Hmm.
walk through in my head step by step everything that I want to happen, which can kind of take practice. I'm very ADHD, so it is hard for me like closing my eyes definitely helps me to be able to just stay in the zone or I'll like open the binder and I'll actually like look through my music and sort of sing along in my head so that I have something to focus on so that I'm not like distracted constantly by them if I
Yeah.
close my eyes or I give myself like a mindfulness exercise, like I can do, like breathing. exercises, being aware of my breathing, progressive muscle relaxation. I can do like reviewing my words. I can like think back through when I saw this really great performance of this song by one of my favorite artists. I'm like, okay, I'm going to channel that kind of confidence and energy. Like, how would Barbara Streisand do it? Or how did Leah Michelle do it on Glee? And I try to like channel that confidence and energy they had, right? So maybe I like think through things. So I give myself something to do in that moment that's constructive instead
Mhm.
of being like, what are they doing? Right.
Yeah.
And, what if they sing your song right before you or something? My gosh, there was one audition. I was like, no one will sing this song. It's so old. No way will anyone sing it. And then my friend, who's a guy, it is a duet. So it is possible that a guy could do it.
Oh,
But he sang it right before me at an audition. I was like, dang it, Bradley.
no.
I was like, ugh. Okay.
Right.
I was like, well, at least they can see us performing together now. They can like imagine us as the duet. But I was like, oh my gosh. And like we were the only, I asked people later, I was like, did anyone else sing that song? We were the only two people who sang the song. And I was like, of course,
Oh,
your
wow.
audition was right before mine. Ugh, we
Mm.
couldn't at least be spread out. I was like, at least there was
That's
another
crazy.
girl. Like, ugh. He was like, whatever, you sing it better than me. I was like, thanks. So yeah. So like those things will happen, but you don't let it shake you. Just stay focused on this is what I need to do right now. It doesn't matter what else is happening, and it doesn't matter how good they are. You will never be a better Rihanna than Rihanna is, or a better Kelly Clarkson than Kelly Clarkson, but you are the best you in the world and no one else can do it better than you, right? So
Mhm.
we stay focused on that. We go, this is what I have to offer and what I bring. So giving yourself something to do in those moments can be really helpful. If it was like, there's one person before me, I might watch just the beginning of their audition just to like get a little information and then be like, okay, now focus. Stay calm, stay focused, stay centered. What is the first thing that you're going to say when you get up there? And just like walk through it in my head, stay like calm, stay connected to my body, stay relaxed, and just try to shut all that out, you know?
Mhm.
Um, Especially if you're doing an audition that you aren't like super comfortable or confident with. I would say, like, so in college, and when I was in college, I always tried to challenge myself and be like, I'm going to create the perfectly crafted audition package for this show. And so like every time I auditioned, it was new material, which is great for later in life because now I'm like, I know so much material.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was doing myself a disservice because I wasn't as confident with the material. I had friends who basically did the same audition package. Like my one friend Elizabeth, she did the exact same audition package over and over for like 5 years straight. And then after her audition, like people would be like, now that was a perfect audition. And I'm like, of course, she is so comfortable with it. She does the same
Yeah.
thing over and over and over and over again. Of course, she's going to be confident with it. Right.
Mhm.
So, another thing I would recommend is kind of putting together an audition binder. And what you can do is have different categories for yourself. I would say probably have like one comedic, one dramatic monologue that you just have ready to go in there. Um, and then I would say song wise, try to have a good variety. So, like one up tempo musical theater, one ballad musical theater. Once you have that, try to have different like genres, like more contemporary musical theater, more classical musical theater. You could do more like contemporary styles. You could do a Disney song, like having different categories. A jazz standard would be another good thing to have in there. And just have songs and monologues ready. And you just have like a couple headshots and resumes printed and in that all the time, and it's just ready to go. And you just know I am always ready if they need, like, I always have like 5 audition cuts ready to go at the drop of a hat. And you just always have that prepared. And that way, too, it's like if somebody's like, hey, can you sing in our Christmas concert or something? If you're like, what do I know? What do I have
Yeah.
prepared? Um, so, or come sing at a wedding or a funeral or a cabaret, a fundraiser, a talent show, whatever it is, you just have songs ready to go and you're like, oh, sure, I can do any of these. And you like give them your binder and you're like, Do you like any of these options? They're all prepared. Um, so I think that would be another helpful thing to have because then going in, you can be like, okay, I have an up tempo and I have a ballad. That's where you start. So you just have
Mhm.
one audition song that's like this is a faster, more upbeat one, and then this one's more of a like slower flowing one. And then you can add more and more to that, but start with at least two contrasting cuts that are just ready to go at the drop of a hat. So I'm curious about this audition you have coming up for the solo. Do you have, are you doing the solo as the audition? And do you have music for that?
Yes, I am. We don't have the music yet,
Hmm.
but I know our theme for our show this year is going to be about the rise of the Pink Ladies from Greece.
Oh, cool.
So it's some new show out on the rise of the Pink Ladies. It's some show on Paramount Plus.
Oh,
So we're gonna
okay.
do. I think the solo is a
Cool.
song from that show. So
Oh, I'm gonna
I
have to
think
go do
it's
some
interesting
research on
for it.
that.
So yeah, it sounds good. It sounds really good. But
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
I just looked up like songs from it and there are a lot. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh. So that actually is a really good thing to look into and start
Yeah.
listening to the music because even if don't watch the show, just being familiar with the songs ahead of time could be really helpful. Um
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like it's not necessarily even just like songs from Greece. It looks like it's like original
Yeah,
songs
so
that
it's original pieces. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like girl gang. Like I don't know what that is. So yeah, but we can yeah, that's actually a really good thing. I'm like, I'm gonna have to go do some listening now. I have some fun homework
Yeah.
myself. So yeah, so go do some listening. Maybe just like look up online, be like, what are the songs from this? And start listening to those, familiarizing yourself with them, and start just like practicing some of them. Um, it is kind of tough when it's like, oh, they told me on Friday and our audition is on Monday, and
Right.
you don't know the show. Like I remember I went to one audition and oh gosh, I knew one song that the character who I thought I'd be pretty good for like I knew well enough that I'd like practice singing it, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know her other song that was like she had two big songs and I didn't have time because I found out about the audition the day before and I was like, okay, I'll prepare one of them. And so I went in with my audition song, which was not from the show. And then when they were like, oh, can you sing something from the show? I was like, oh yeah, I know this one. I like practiced it. And then after they heard that, they were like, can you do the other one? And I was like, I actually don't know that one. I haven't even heard it. And they were like, oh, well, can you like go out in the hall and listen to it and then come back and try it? And I was like, okay. So I
Right.
did. I was like, all right. And I was like, I am not ready. But they were like, come on again. And I was like,
Okay.
great. And
Mhm.
happily they were like, you're great. We love you. You're cast or whatever.
Mhm.
Well, I wasn't right away. They were like, we're doing a callback. Come back and read with these other characters. And I was like, cool. And then I ended up getting it. So even the little bit of prep that I did helped, but it just made it a lot more nerve-wracking to have to like sight read a song
Yeah.
basically that I had just like popped in the hallway and listened to for 60 seconds and then like come back in and been like, all right, here goes nothing. Um,
Mhm.
so it definitely makes you feel a lot more comfortable if you've had time to prepare. So we at least know the theme and we at least
Yes.
know that there are songs from this show and that we can go start learning them. And I think that's great. So I would say be listening to them, like just start kind of marinating in this music and
Mhm.
try to like hum along with it, try to sing along with them. Find some karaoke tracks and try just like singing through with the karaoke tracks. Like just start practicing the music from the show and go in with the attitude that it's like, I'm going to be so prepared that I can't not get it. Like go in being like,
Mhm.
I know this show inside and out. And no matter what they ask me to do, I'm ready for it. And you'll
Mhm.
feel a lot more confident just then. But even if you go in and you're like, I don't feel confident, you're going to play the character. You're going to be like, I am a confident, successful leading lady. and I deserve this solo, right? So you go in
Right.
playing that character, right? And so you go in being like, this is it. I've got this. Yeah. And then when you leave, you'll be like, and now I get to be sad if I, didn't get it or whatever. But in that moment,
Yeah.
you're that character. So,
Mhm.
all right, awesome. So with that, hopefully you do get that music a little bit of ahead and you have some time to practice leading up and everything. Um, but I think something that would be really great to do would be to start putting together your audition binder and then also start learning some of the
Okay.
songs from the Pink Ladies show. So I think that would be a really good kind of starting point for you. And then I also would love, since this is kind of like our meet and greet, like first time getting together, I would love to hear a little bit
Hmm.
of your singing if you're open to that as well today, just so that I have a little bit more information about kind of where you're at. I am
Okay.
curious, have you so far usually done singing auditions? Have you ever had to do a monologue?
Oh yeah, I've done both.
Okay, great. Awesome. Have you had to do the
Hmm.
callbacks where they have you like read scenes with other people off the page and like,
Hmm.
yeah, okay, great. Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was just curious about that. Yeah, because sometimes too, like you'll have the reading the scenes, and sometimes that's the part of the audition that's a little bit
Hmm.
scarier, or you'll be like, oh, like I don't know what's gonna happen for dance call. So yeah, like
Yeah.
different things. So yeah, that just kind of helps me know. So all of the above are part of these auditions. Love it. All right. So, if you were to maybe choose an artist that you feel like your voice is similar to, who would you maybe choose that you're like, I feel like my voice is a little bit similar to this, or like this artist's songs are in an easy range for me to sing, like my voice feels very comfortable with them.
Well, let me think. Hmm. I don't know.
It is a
I
good
don't
question, right?
know. Yeah, I
I
don't really know. That's
feel
a good
like I
question.
ask this question and people are always like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like almost always.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
So then let me change the question. What would you say if you picked an artist that you're like, this is my favorite artist? This is the artist that I would love to sound similar to, or this is the artist that their music really speaks to me. Who would you say are your inspirations?
Inspirations. I mean, I definitely probably Cynthia Erivo, even though her vocals are
Okay.
insane. It's
Oh no,
insane.
she's
But
great.
she's awesome. But that's
Amazing.
just one person.
No, I love
She's
it. That I
amazing.
mean, if you're
But
gonna pick someone that you're like,
Cynthia Erivo is up here.
oh, she's
I
amazing. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I think that's a great person to choose. I think as an artist, as a person, as a
Hmm.
vocalist, as a performer, I think that she's highly skilled. I think her voice, like she has such a mastery of it too, like her
Yeah.
instrument, she knows so well. I also love that, she'll learn music and she'll sing it right, but she also puts
Mhm.
personality and her own kind of vibes into it. I think
Yeah.
she's a great person to choose to be
Amazing.
like, I would love to sing like this person. I think that's great. That's
Yeah.
a beautiful, beautiful inspiration to stay focused on. So then, if you were maybe going to sing in choir, do you feel like you would be most comfortable in like a lower alto place, more of like the high sopranos, or more like maybe like a soprano two, where it's like right in the middle? Where do you feel like your voice would
Mhm.
be most comfortable in that?
I'm currently singing a soprano too in
Okay,
choir.
great. Yeah, that's good to
Hmm.
know. Awesome. That actually is a beautiful range. I feel like that's where most soprano roles vocals fall. And a lot
Hmm.
of the time, the more like high sopranos really struggle to get that like like mid range, really solid
Right.
and comfortable.
Hmm.
And then for lower voiced females, that can sometimes feel a little bit high to them. And so, like, if you're really strong in that range, it's actually a really great place to thrive in because a lot of the music is going to sit right there. So I think that's awesome. That's
Hmm.
great. And two, then you're probably pretty good at harmonizing as well, which is awesome. So that's a great skill to have. So a strong musical ear. I feel like having that middle part is the hardest to hear. I played
Yeah.
second lady in Mozart's Magic Flute one time. So there's like a lower voice,
Hmm.
a higher voice, and then I was right in the middle. And whew, I was like, it's hard. Like when I'm on top, I can
Yeah.
hear my part. When I'm at bottom, I can hear my part. And like right in the center, I feel like that's the
The
hardest to like
hardest.
find your
Yes.
part and stay really strong in it. So that's
Yeah.
great. I'm like, props to you. Good. All right, that's good to hear. So then I'm also curious, what if you picked, so have you been working on any songs? And then if you picked a song that you're like, I would like to get really strong and good at this song, what would that be?
Right now, I'm currently working on Killing Me Softly.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so that's a I there's this solo night thing that my choir holds, and so
Cool.
I'm working on that by myself. And I
Love
think that's the
it.
problem. I'm doing it by
Oh,
myself and not
yeah.
performing it in front of people. So
Yeah. So
yeah, I think
it's
that's like in 2 weeks, I believe.
getting
So
feedback and just like having that
yes.
confidence. You know what? That's really interesting because one of my students recently said they were like, it was Jolyn. Wednesday I saw her and she said, I didn't know if like I was actually good at singing or if like people just let me sing because they knew I loved doing it, and were supportive. And so that was something that she mentioned that she was like, I just have been singing and I'm like, am I actually any good? Do people like
Yeah.
hearing me? I don't know,
I
and
think that's kind of where my mind's at. Like for me personally to feel more confident, I feel like I need somebody to be like, yeah, you sound good in this song, or no, you
yeah.
don't sound like that song doesn't really fit your voice. Like I
And
just need
knowing
that
your
person.
strengths and weaknesses too,
Yeah.
going like, this is where my voice thrives. Because
Mm-hmm.
even like, so we have six larger voice categories. We have bass, baritone, tenor, contralto, mezzo soprano, soprano.
Mm-hmm.
And even within those larger six categories, we have more. There are like eight different kinds of sopranos. And and all that really means is this is where your register shifts happen. And this is what your instrument likes doing best. It doesn't really mean you can't do other things. It's just like this is where your voice thrives, is kind of the idea.
Right.
And knowing
Mm-hmm.
that can be really helpful. One thing that when I was younger, I would do is I would pick things I was like, oh, this is hard. So they'll be impressed. But then I realized later on, I was like, wait a minute, the songs that are hard for me are easy for someone else, and the songs that are easy for me are hard for someone else. So why am I not just like doing the things that I do really well and that come easily to me? And then just like excelling in those. Like I figured out it's
Yeah.
much better to do a song that like is a little bit easier for me that I just like can do no wrong with than a song that I'm like, I worked really hard on this and it's a really hard song. Be impressed. Like,
Yeah.
it's always better to choose the one that you're like, I could sing this in my sleep. Like it always is
Mm-hmm.
a better choice. So knowing those things, going, I don't even know what those things are, is definitely tricky. Also keep in mind though that voice types can change as you grow. So like what my voice was like when I was in high school and undergrad and grad school and now, they're all different. And it's just because of where my voice was at in my journey. Some female
Mm-hmm.
voices do not reach their full potential till they're like mid 40s, mid to late 40s. So your
Wow.
voice is growing all the time. And that's kind of one
Mm-hmm.
of the cool things about it. And one of the not so cool things, it's like a trumpet is just a trumpet, it doesn't
Right.
change. Whereas a voice can change with you. That's one of the things my student Phil's dealing with. He like showed me recordings when he's younger and then he's like, and here's my voice now. And I was like, well, I'm gonna be honest, I actually like his voice better now. And he was like, but I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to use it. And I was like, that's why we're here,
Yeah.
So yeah, like it can be a really exciting, fun adventure. So I just want to hear a little bit so that I can kind of figure out where you're at, and then we'll go from there. Since you've been doing shows in choir, all of this should come pretty easily to you. We're going to go over a few of the basics to start. So the first thing I want you to think about is your posture and alignment. The reason we think about this is because we want a nice open pathway for that air to flow through. We want this to
Mhm.
stay nice and open so that air flows through unhindered. Why is that? You can think of air for your voice kind of like gas in a car. If it's not there, you're not going to go anywhere. Everything else can work right. And if you don't have that air, there's not going to be any sound. So we always check that first. So we get that pathway nice and open, being a little more tall, and having that good posture helps with that. We also don't just want to think taller, we want to feel expansive. So we want to feel like our body take space. I have seen people 4 feet tall walk on stage and look like they are 10 feet tall because they own that space. So singers are not small. We take space. We are expansive all the time. So nice and tall, open, and we're going to think about that pathway expanding so the air can get through. We're going to lift and open the rib cage, those little bitty intercostal muscles expanding, and then a nice focused breath energy up and out. Try to be aware of your lower belly expansion as well as you breathe in. So that diaphragm has kind of an elevator action at rest. It's up here. You can think of like the top of it close to your heart. And as we breathe in, it's going to flatten and move down like an elevator action. It's pushing other stuff out of the way so the lungs can expand. So your liver, your spleen, your guts, they're all moving out of the way. And then as we control our air on the way up and out, it moves in that same elevator action to help get this steady flow of air. Italians called it a leaning into the breath because they were like, we don't want to feel like we're squeezing it out or forcing it out or pushing it out. We want to feel like it's this steady, gentle flow. So a little leaning into the breath. Another thing I want you to think now is expanding all the way around in the back space. Your rib cage in the front is a lot shorter than it is in the back, and that rib cage is protecting your lungs. So you have a lot more room in the back that you could be expanding into. And if you get more air, then you can do longer phrases. You can get higher notes that sustain. You can do these really long, beautiful flowing phrases, right? So we're going to try to expand all the way in the back as well. So focus on the sides and the back space opening. Breathe in. Yeah. So we're trying to stay connected lower in that trunk of our body and keep the shoulders, this clavicle, the sternum, the shoulders, all of those more level and expanding below that. So that sometimes takes a little bit of practice, but since you've been doing choir, you probably already got that down. So now we're going to think about moving the voice through now. So if this is my throat, if I'm a giant and I think I want to make sound with my voice, I'm going to use my gatekeepers. There's one tube that has like a fork in a road. It splits into 2 tracks. And so the one is going to go your esophagus to the stomach, and the other, your trachea, is going to your lungs. So there are these little gatekeepers at the top of the trachea to say, you shall not pass. Go that way. They're like, I must protect my lungs. So the food, the water, everything that you eat and drink, it goes down the esophagus. So those gatekeepers are there. That's their main job. They're doing it well because we're both here. So we are going to try now utilizing those gatekeepers to create sound. So we just have learned to do this. We pull them together, but we leave enough of a gap or a light enough pressure that air can get through. We allow them to vibrate, and those vibrations, if they're slower, it's a lower note. If it's a higher note, it's going to be a faster vibration. So they're kind of like a rubber band, but made out of a fleshy material. And so we have one that's going to stretch front to back, one muscle that helps to stretch and elongate those vocal folds. So if you think of like a rubber band stretching, kind of like that. And when we do that front to back muscle, there's a lighter pressure on the vocal fold closure. When we engage our side to side muscle, there's a stronger, more firm pressure on the closure. So when I engage that side to side muscle, I can't vibrate as fast because the air can't flow through as fast. When I engage that front to back muscle, it's a lighter pressure, so more air can get through, so I can vibrate faster. Now, I'm going to refer to those muscles. Your front and back one is technically your cricothyroid muscle, or if people say your CT muscle, that's what they're talking about. I'm going to refer to it as your head voice muscle. That's more like the Northeast New York style of phrasing for that. So that's more like the lingo that I use just because of where I studied and what I learned. The reason we call it that is because most people, not all, but most will feel the vibrations when they use that muscle in their head somewhere. And then we call the side to side muscle, which is technically your thyroarytenoid muscle or your TA muscle. We call that your chest voice muscle. Why? Because most people, again, not all, but most will feel the vibrations more in their chest part of their body when they utilize that muscle. So I want you to try like a sad little puppy dog. Give me a good. Now, like a little baby owl, give me a whoo, whoo.
Woo, woo.
So that is our front to back muscle. That is your head voice muscle. That's spinning a little bit higher, and you might have felt some vibrations more in your head. So now we're going to try like Santa Claus. You're going to give me a big ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah, so that's more your chest voice muscle at work. And you might have felt some vibrations down here. So we're just referring to the sensation when we talk about that. So excellent. So I want to try a couple things. Can you give me a whoop? Low to high.
Woo,
Yep, one more of those on whoop. Whoop.
woo,
Awesome. Now high to low, we're going to do a woohoo.
woo.
Yep, one more wahoo for me. Woohoo! Beautiful. Yes, very nice. All right. So, if you are open to it, I would love to hear a little bit of Killing Me Softly. Would you be comfortable singing like even just like a chorus of that or like a verse chorus, maybe
Yeah.
like 30 seconds to a minute of that, at least just so I have an idea of kind of where it's at and what you've been working on? Would that be all right?
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Awesome.
Just okay. Strumming my pain with his fingers, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his song.
All right. All right. I definitely hear the musical theater influence there, which is great. Like a lot of shows now have more contemporary style music, but then we also were expected to have a little bit of a like theatrical sound as well. So I think that was a really nice
Mhm.
combination. So more of like a show choir or like a musical theater kind of vibe there. Very nice. Um, I was just thinking and like making some notes to myself. So give me just one moment to jot a couple notes to myself down. Um, okay. All right. Yeah. I just wanted to finish that thought of what I was typing to myself. Awesome. Great. So I did notice you've got really good diction there. Um, more of that musical theater kind of tone, so a little bit brighter tone. Um, I would say a more minimal vibrato there, which I think aligns with that kind of show choir or musical theater kind of vibe that we're going for. I definitely heard some of that personalization and trying to be kind of expressive, like with a little bit of scooping and things going on. So I definitely heard some of those. I like to think of it as like our voice is kind of like the cake, and then the frosting and the sprinkles and the decorations are kind of like whatever genre we're singing in. So I really liked hearing some of those expressive elements that you were incorporating. Really nice. Um, yeah, very nice. What would you say was the thing that you liked both best about what you just did there?
Um, I didn't freak out as much.
Oh,
I would
that's
say.
good. Yeah, you were like, all right, here we
I would
go. And
say
you
I
just did
didn't
it.
freak
I
out as
love
much,
that.
I
Yeah. So
guess.
you might have expected, or anticipated that you'd be nervous. I didn't really like give you a chance
Hmm.
to get nervous, did I? I just was like, can you do it? Let's go.
No,
You
you
know?
just said just do it.
So that
Yeah.
actually might be helpful. Like knowing that about yourself, going, if I have time to get in my head, it freaks me out. So something that you might do is give yourself something like physical to do before you go into an audition to kind of distract yourself.
Hmm.
Um, I had one character I had to like come in and just be like super angry And I just was like pretty mellow and chill about it. And my director was like, okay, you have to like burst through that door and like all you can't like work up to it. You got to like come in already mad. So I like went out in the hallway before the performance started and I just like ran. I ran like back and forth in the hallway. And then it was like time
Uh-huh.
to go. And I was just like, boom, I like burst through and I was already out of breath. And he was like, wow, that was different. And my partner was just like, oh, it was pretty great. But it really did help me in that moment. Sometimes having like something physical to do. Um, I tend to be a little more like nervous energy before going on. So
Mhm.
usually I'll give myself things like stretches or like slow breathing exercises to kind of like help myself calm down. I think that day I was just like so tired. I had had a really long day and I was like, oh my gosh, we have this performance. Ugh, and I just was like, I gotta get hype, you know? And
Yeah.
it helped. Like another time I had to it was like a fight scene and I just like ran up and down stairs before I went on. So I was already like, let's do this, like ready to go. So sometimes giving yourself something to do beforehand can be really helpful, especially if you feel like you get stuck in your head. That can kind of give you something else to focus on. And then you're like, all right, and now I'm going. I'm just doing the thing. So occasionally you might want to try giving yourself a task that can help. I've also done that actually in shows, not in auditions, but giving myself like a task to do. Like this person comes in and is trying to convince me of something, but I give myself something to do. Like I tangled all up my needle point, and so now I'm trying to like untangle it and unknot it and like fix it and stuff. So I give myself something to do that helps me like get out of my head and just like do the thing. Because I do
Hmm.
tend to overthink sometimes. So yeah, I think I have a really nice idea of where we're at. So what I would love to do is I'm going to put together kind of my thoughts on where you're at and kind of like what some of the strengths and weaknesses are that we want to work on, and then put
Okay.
together my thoughts on like a good plan, like a practice plan, what you can be working on till I see you again.
Okay.
And then I'll put together sort of like a lesson plan that I have in mind. But if you ever have things that you want to bring and you're like, I really want to work on this, that's flexible too and can adjust
Okay.
for what you need. Um, I'm going to give you my you can text or call this number anytime. I just use that for students and it
Okay.
helps
Make
me stay
sure.
on
Yeah.
top of things. And then here's my email. I do
Okay.
check the phone a lot more frequently. So if you send me an email, just send me a text and be like, hey, I emailed you. And that helps me stay on top of things there.
Okay.
So if you want to just like
Okay.
grab those, and then could you give me your email and then I can just send you your homework or like my closing thoughts on where we're at, and kind of like my thoughts on
Uh-huh.
how to be practicing moving forward with the song and those kind of things. I can just send it directly to you. Does that work?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you just want
Okay.
to drop that in the
There
chat,
it is.
I'll go
It
ahead
didn't get
and
that.
just
Okay.
save that. Cool. So I'm just going to save that in a note to myself and I will put that together here shortly. So I will send that over to
Okay.
you hopefully by like 7. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. And
Yes.
then I'll talk to your mom a little bit more. I know that you'll have that audition coming up, but you don't yet know like for sure what materials. So I'm thinking if you
Mm-hmm.
want to maybe like go do a little bit of listening and then pick one of the songs that you really like
Mm-hmm.
from the Pink Ladies, and then we could maybe just start working on one of the
Just the
songs that you
character.
really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to maybe pick a character that you feel like you would fit really well, and you're like, I feel like these songs would fit my voice well, and I really enjoy the character. I feel like I could play them well. Um, then we can maybe start by working on just like a song that you choose from that, and then we can
Okay.
always adjust as needed. But I also think it could be good to keep bringing on this song, because if you have like talent shows or like sharing days and things, like you can just have a song that's ready to
Mm-hmm.
go and that you can sing for things. So yeah, and if you ever so I know too, your mom asked about doing virtual, but Avon is not too far from where I'm at. So if we ever
Mm-hmm.
did want to get together in person, we definitely could do that too. I actually have a few
Okay.
students that live like close-ish, and then that way they like can do
Okay.
online or in person as needed. So like if you were practicing for an audition, you go like, I feel like it'd be really helpful to like come in person to like practice the audition with you in person before switching over. We could always do that if needed, or if I do
Okay.
recitals or whatever, then you're not that far, so we can always get together as needed. And then too, if you
Okay.
have performances, then I can come see you, which I love. So
Okay.
yeah, so I will chat with your mom a little bit more too. I will email you with kind of my thoughts on where we're at with everything right after this, and then we can figure out what's a good time to meet next. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Oh my, I think my mom wanted
Hi.
to just say hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Is it do I so tell me how to say
Renette.
your name. Renette. Okay, I had it right. Sanaya told me I was saying like Sanai, and I was like, do I have it? So
Hmm.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I get that all the time. That's okay.
yeah, yeah. So Sanaya and Renette. Awesome. I'm Vandy.
Yes.
It's wonderful to get to see you and, put a face to it since we chatted a little bit.
Yes.
Thanks so much for finding me. I think we covered some good ground today. I took a lot of good notes, and I'm gonna email right after this Sanaya some like closing thoughts and some homework things to work on.
Oh,
And then
okay.
yeah, so she's got some really good goals, and I'm
Okay.
sorry that this last audition was disappointing, but hopefully this next one's gonna, she'll just breeze through it.
Yes.
So that's the hope
Yes, we
here.
got
Yes,
this.
So
hopefully.
yeah,
All
awesome. Well, it's
right. Well,
wonderful to
thank
meet
you.
Yes, thank
you.
you so much. Yes, it was nice to meet
Yeah,
you too.
absolutely. All right, we'll chat soon. Bye,
Yes,
Sanaya.
can't wait. Bye. See ya.